By the mid-1980s, America had a new kind of confidence. The factories of the old world were rusting, but the markets were alive. The dollar, once tied to gold, then to oil, was now tied to something even more fragile: trust in the future. Because in this new America, money didn't need to be earned before it was spent. It just needed to be borrowed. It started small. A credit card here, a car loan there. Banks discovered that lending wasn't just profitable, it was addictive. The more they loaned, the more they earned. And Americans, eager, hopeful, ambitious, took the bait. By 1990, personal credit card debt had tripled. A single US dollar could stretch farther than ever, not because it was strong, but because it was multiplied by promises. In Britain, Thatcher's policies had made home ownership accessible, but also tied families to lifelong mortgages. In France, the franc struggled to compete with Germany's stable mark as the EU prepared for monetary union. But in America, borrowing became a lifestyle. A home, a car, a college education, all financed by tomorrow's dollar. It wasn't just an economy anymore. It was a culture built on confidence and credit. As debt grew at home, something extraordinary happened abroad. Nations around the world, from Japan to Saudi Arabia, from France to Nigeria, began buying U.S. Treasury bonds. They trusted America's ability to repay, even as it borrowed more than ever before. By 1995, the dollar wasn't just America's money, it was the world's reserve currency. In Britain, the pound still had pride. In France, the franc still had history. But both bowed to the dollar's dominance. You couldn't buy oil or trade stocks, or invest in global markets without touching it. Every nation needed it. Every crisis tested it. Every leader watched it. But global power came with a cost. America could print the world's money, but it could also print its way into peril. The 1990s arrived with blinking lights and endless possibility. Computers, the internet, a new digital economy. And once again, America led the charge. Every dollar invested in technology seemed to double overnight. People quit jobs to trade stocks from home. The Nasdaq roared. The future looked unstoppable. In Europe, the picture was different. Britain's economy grew cautiously. France prepared to abandon the franc for the euro. The old continent was cautious. America was fearless. And yet, beneath the euphoria, there was a quiet danger, a widening gap between reality and value. Many of those new internet companies made no profit at all. But investors didn't care, they were buying dreams. It was the same story that had repeated since 1800. When a dollar could buy a dream, people stopped asking what it was really worth. By 2000, the U.S. national debt had reached $5.6 trillion. But Americans didn't feel poor. They had big homes, multiple cars, and computers in every room. The stock market had turned ordinary people into millionaires, at least on paper. Meanwhile, in Britain, house prices had started to rise rapidly, debt-fueled growth mirroring the U.S. boom. In France, the transition toward the euro masked its own internal debt struggles. But there was a dangerous illusion at play, that debt was wealth and credit was power. Every empire before America had made the same mistake. Rome debased its silver. Britain stretched its empire thin. France inflated its currency during Revolution. Now it was America's turn to test how far belief could go before breaking. The end came quietly. On March 10, 2000, the dot-com bubble burst. Trillions vanished in days. Overnight, once billion-dollar companies were worth pennies. The optimism that had carried the 1990s evaporated, leaving only debt and disillusionment. Yet through it all, the dollar endured. Investors fled from tech stocks, from euros, from pounds, and ran back to it. Because even in crisis, the world still believed in one thing. The dollar might fall, but it would never fail. By the dawn of the 21st century, America stood at a crossroads. Its dollar was no longer backed by gold or oil or industry, but by trust alone. A single piece of paper, once enough to buy a farm in 1800, now bought a burger and a soda. But behind that simple exchange was the weight of 200 years of faith, ambition, and reinvention. The question wasn't just what a dollar could buy, but what it still meant. Because the next chapter, the era after 2000, wouldn't just test the value of money. It would test the soul of capitalism itself. The 1980s taught America something powerful and dangerous. That money could be borrowed, not just earned. That wealth could be imagined before it was built. By the late 90s, everyone had plastic in their wallets and dreams on credit. Homes got bigger. Cars got shinier. But debt? It quietly became the new American shadow. The age of credit wasn't just about prosperity, it was about illusion. An illusion that comfort today could never come with a cost tomorrow. And that's why this story matters. Because the credit cards we swiped in the 1990s are still echoing through today's economy. If you've made it this far, you already see the pattern. History doesn't just repeat, it rhymes, and we're still living in the chorus. So before you go, hit subscribe. Because the next chapter isn't just history, it's the story of your money, your future, and how it all began. This was the age of credit. I'll see you in the next era.